Today I'm going to show how to get different size trees from the new O Christmas Tree Mould. You don't have to use the entire mold every time, which is really nice. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to prep my surface. I just have this wood circle and I'm giving it a coat of white chalk paint. Then I'm going to get my clay pliable and I'm going to work it into the mold. I'm trying to just use one piece because you get less cracks when you use one piece, but with something so big like this, you generally do have to add more clay. So I start with the mold, I turn it upside down, and then I start at the top of the Christmas tree and I kind of just work my way down, pushing the clay, trying to manipulate it and push it to just the edges where I don't have a lot of overhang. And this does take a little bit of time, but it is worth it because this tree mold is amazing. You'll notice that there are a lot of intricate parts on the outside, but they do pop off really easy. And you can always use the cornstarch or put it in the freezer and it'll pop out easily. All right, so once I get it all in the mold, I'm just going to flip it over and I'm going to release the mold. What I like to do is like to curl it up and it just kind of releases. Sometimes like a big mold like this, you might need to turn it to sideways and roll different ways, but it is gorgeous when it comes out. You'll notice here what I'm doing real quick though is I'm just getting all of the edges clear and clean. That way there is no extra clay and I don't have to clean up the edges too much after I pop it out of the mold. And if I act quickly enough, I can use this clay and save it for the next project. Now that I'm getting the mold out, the Christmas tree out, I'm going to give it a coat of paint real quick. Yes, you can definitely paint your clay while it's still wet. I like to do that simply because when you put it on your surface of your project, sometimes when you need to paint the edges or the sides, you'll get it on your background. So I like to paint it first. And yeah, sometimes I will, get some of the paint off if I don't let it dry. But I can touch it up. It's easier to do touch-ups than try to paint the entire sides and not get it on your background. Okay, so look at the tree. How gorgeous is that? Look at all the detail. Now, when I paint the tree, most trees have several colors. It's just not one. So I start here with this bright green, and I'm going to give it a whole once-over as the background color of the tree. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to add a little, oops, I just broke the top of the tree. Oopsies. So I'll glue that back on, which is really nice because it's so easy to glue these on. So I go back and I use a little bit of light green and then I'm going to put some dark green in here. And I just simply want to have it where it's just different colors so it looks more realistic. And once I finally get all the paint on, I'm going to let it dry. And now I'm going to start with some smaller trees. So I just add some clay to the top and I'm going to push it out. You'll notice the bottom is not perfect, but that's okay. I can use a straight edge and I can cut it where it is perfect. So there's my baby tree, and that was simply by just using the top of the mold. Now I'm going to give it a quick paint, and then watch what I'm going to make next. It is super cute. Like I said, this mold is very versatile. You can make any size tree you want, so that is fun. You can actually do this with resin too. I would just simply take a piece of clay and drape it across where you want it to stop, then pour the resin and pop it out and it should be fine. Maybe I'll have to make a how-to on that one. Comment in the sections below if you want me to. Okay, so I pop this out and look at this. So here is a mid-sized tree. So I have the full tree, a little tree, and now I have a medium tree. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick paint. And you'll notice on these two trees, I started with a different base color simply because I just wanted to have a little bit of depth in between my trees so you could really see the difference between them. So next I need to figure out how I'm going to lay them on my wood round. But before I do that, I need to figure out how I'm going to glue them on. There are several different ways that you can glue them on. I have decided that I am going to use a product called Heavy Body Gel. I love Heavy Body Gel. It really keeps stuff in place, but you can use wood glue, you can use craft glue, you can use whatever you want to. With the Heavy Body Gel though, I just use a palette knife and I kind of just spread it around. And it's good because if you're doing it on uneven surfaces, it kind of fills the gaps, but it does definitely keep it on your project. Okay, so I'm going to carefully flip this over and glue it into the correct place. Now, I already broke the tip when I was taking it off where I painted because it kind of dried there. So all I need to do is simply add just a tinge of the glue and then put it right where it needs to go. Pay no mind to my fingers. This kind of stuff can be quite messy. Okay, so there it is in the right place. Now I'm going to do the same thing to my other trees, and I'm going to kind of decide the background. I think I'll put this one on the right. I made tree trunks simply by rolling clay and painting them brown. So I'm going to glue that on. Then next I'm going to put the medium tree on with a little bit more heavy body gel, and then I'm going to stick this on the left side. And placement is kind of tricky, but what's nice about the air dry clay is that it's not dry yet, so it can go on top of another surface and just mold to whatever you're putting it on. So this will lay very nicely on the other tree that I have on. Okay, so let me add the little tree trunk, and now look at how cute it is. Now I just need to let it dry before I decorate it a little bit more. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of snow. Now this gives the trees such a beautiful effect. You'll notice when looking at these trees, there is such great detail on these. So as I'm adding the snow to my tree, it just sticks up on the branches that are a little bit more elevated than the rest of the mold, and it just works and blends nicely. You can get the same effect with paint. I would just let it thicken up just a little bit. I'm just using some snow paste. And so I'm going to go ahead and apply this to all of the trees. Okay, so now that the trees are all covered in snow, we need to add snow at the bottom. So I'm just using my palette knife, and I'm just going to squish them around here and make it look like the trees are in a bunch of snow. This product will dry hard and will dry with texture. Next, I'm using a round brush, and I'm just going to splatter some across the top so it looks like it's snowing. Gives it a nice 3D effect. So I'm going to add some more detail to it because it's kind of plain and boring. When I look at this, I think of a tree farm. So I'm going to stamp some ribbon, and I'm going to mark it tree farm. So I'm using my thin mount, and I'm putting my letters on. And what's nice about these thin mounts, it kind of gives a guide so your letters go on straight. So I'll put them on, but because I need 2 E's, and then there are only 1 E in the pack, I just use a placeholder and then move it over. Next, I'm going to take my ink pad by IOD and the black ink, and I'm going to just lightly stamp it. Now, something that I always do before I commit to my project, I just take a piece of paper and I just test it. I want to make sure that it looks nice, that it's straight, because if it's not, I can go ahead and adjust it then, and I didn't make a mistake on my final project. So look at here, the E looks a little bit off, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the E up just a scotch, and then I'll go ahead and give it final inking, and then I'm going to put it on my project. Now, the ink shows up darker on paper. When you put it on fabric, it will be a little bit lighter, but you can go a little bit heavier with your ink when you're going on a fabric or ribbon surface. Sometimes when you put on paper and you put too much ink, it could smear, but definitely on fabric, you can go a little bit heavier. Okay, let's give it a go. So this is just regular ribbon, and I'm gonna put it down and make sure I hold it in place, and then I'm gonna go over each letter, making sure that I get a good imprint. So there we have it. So there's tree, or tr-e. I'm gonna go back and take the letters off and just put the E in there, and now I have the letter E in the middle of tree. So I'm gonna do the same thing for farm. I'm gonna make sure I test it because it looks like it might be a little crooked. So let's give it a go. And nope, looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and just re-ink it, and I'm going to put it on my ribbon. Again, making sure that I use firm pressure and pressing down on each letter to get a good imprint. So next I need to get something to put my ribbon on so it looks like it's 3D. I could just glue it on, but that would lose its effect. So I found some shish kebab skewers. They're wood or bamboo, whatever they are. And I just used a little bit of gel stain and wiped it back. Now I'm cutting them down to size. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some regular glue, and I'm going to just glue the ribbon on. I kind of folded the ribbon so it looks like it's blowing in the wind. So I'm going to glue these on both sides. Then I'm going to apply a little bit of glue after I decide where I'm going to, where I want the sign to be. I'm going to put this glue down here. This glue will definitely not hold the sign in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my spatula and my snow paste, and I'm just going to put some at the bottom so it looks like the poles are in the snow anyway. This will definitely hold the poles and the sign when it is dried, but it also makes a good effect on the bottom of the poles. If you're enjoying my video, please consider to subscribe and like the video. Make sure to hit the bell so you get notified every time I put a new video out. Thanks. So here is the completed project. I really love the way it turned out. My goal for this video was to show everybody that the O Christmas Tree Mold can be used in several ways, not just the big tree. You can make little trees, medium trees, whatever you want. I hope you enjoyed this video and enjoy the new mold. Thank you for watching.